Today, we're going to get the chance to have a conversation with an Unreasonable fellow who first joined us in 2018 at our Unreasonable Impact Asia Pacific program that we run with our partners at Barclays. His name is Saif. He is the co-founder of an organization called Fourth Partner Energy. Now, today, Fourth Partner Energy is one of the largest and fastest growing renewable energy developers, not just in the subcontinent of India, but in the world. They've raised nearly $500 million. They're now building renewable energy projects at the scale of a gigawatt a year. To put that in perspective, a gigawatt, that's the equivalent of powering about 1 million homes in the United States, or that's the equivalent of planting, in terms of environmental impact, about 70 million trees. So they are moving the needle. They're moving it quickly, but they're doing it in a commercially viable way. They have nearly $1 billion on the balance sheet in the business. And this started as a very scrappy, humble startup about 15 years ago. They're positioning for IPO in the next couple of years, and they're working with hundreds of multinationals to move them completely to net zero in a way that saves them 30 to 40% on their energy bills, in terms of their factories and their centers for production. So this is a unicorn of a company, not just in the financial sense, but in the win-win-win-win-win-win-win proposition that Saif and his entire team bring to the table. So in this conversation, we're going to learn a little bit about why this works, about the business itself, about what Fourth Partner Energy is doing in the world. But what I really want to get into, and which we will dive into, is why and how. It's rare to have the chance to connect with the founder that has this level of humility, success, and integrity. So without further ado, hope you enjoy today's conversation. Brother Saif, it is a privilege to take the time and to have this moment to reconnect and to dive in, not just to your work, but to you as a person as well. So thank you for making the time.
Likewise, Daniel. Thank you. It's always a pleasure speaking with you.
Yeah, well, it's a gift for me as well. And in today's conversation, obviously, I know who you are and the work that you're leading, but we haven't caught up in a little bit. So I don't know actually the current status of things in the present moment, the scale at which you and your team at Fourth Partner Energy are operating. And I'd love just to start with, what is the problem that you're setting out to solve? Then we'll go into how you're doing it and the scale at which you're working.
So I think a bit of genesis of fourth partner will kind of coincide with the kind of problem statement as well.
Yeah.
As recent as it seems, we are 15 years old now. Started in 2010
You're a
with a
teenager.
couple of friends. Yes, a very naughty teenager, and that 2010. Go back in history. India, if you see, has been developing, and it's a vast country. It's a very densely populated country. Yeah. And the per capita incomes are still quite low.
Yeah.
While traveling around, so I used to be in private equity earlier, investing in smaller companies, and thanks to my work, had a chance to travel around the interiors in India, and at the same time was fortunate enough to see you know countries like Germany, etc., Spain, and all of that, and saw that the last mile, there was no power. The guys
Mm.
in the rural areas or in the agriculture area, there was just no power available, and that was primarily due to two reasons. One was that the aggregate power generation was limited because we were pretty much solely reliant on coal, and
Yep.
that had its own limitations. We didn't have India doesn't have very clean coal, so we used to import a lot of it, and obviously the coal logistics, the wastage, etc., etc. And the second was that the distribution network was not very robust, so that the wires didn't reach the last mile, or if there was a rural town, it was too expensive to take wires there. And then I saw during my travels internationally what places like Germany, etc., had done at that even
Hmm.
at that point in time. Where even though the power was not a deficit, they had a lot of rooftop solar coming in, and everybody was installing that just to go green, and there were subsidies, etc. As it happened, my partner Vivek and I had already decided that we want to test ourselves as men and see if we really have it in us. We had worked for other people before, and wanted to test ourselves and said, look, if we want to be entrepreneurs, now is the time, because we were in our early 30s, and life still had a little bit of zest in us.
That's right.
So we had already decided to leave our rather comfortable jobs and said, look, there seems to be a need here. And the need is, A, how do we solve the last mile power problems in India? And when we saw internationally, it was a wonderful solution, because it's a unique energy source. Solar, if you put solar panels, you can put it in modularly in small batches, and the moment it exposed to the sun, it starts producing energy. And we said,
That's right.
wow, I mean, this looks very, very promising. Having said that, I think the technology was not as advanced then. The prices were very, very high, and therefore we started small. We started by building small solar power plants for interior India, where there were
Yep.
rural schools, etc., etc., and solving that last mile power problem. Fast forward 3 or 4 years, we were still pretty small. Our growth was there. We were growing 100% year on year, but on a very low base. And then we felt that, look, if you have to solve this problem on scale, there is something which has got to give. By that
Mm,
time, the technology costs had come down. China had become a big manufacturing hub. And suddenly we felt that, it was rather affordable to scale up this solution. But the large scale consumers were essentially the commercial and industrial clients, right?
yep.
And if you solve their energy problems, then there is enough energy which is being generated to get to rural India as well. So we said, look, I mean, while we can continue to do what we're doing and it's great impact, if we really have to scale this fast, there are two issues to be solved. A, you have to go to larger scale power generation, and
Yep.
two is, this is a very capital intensive play, so people kind of hesitate. It's not core business. So if you have a Unilever who's producing soaps, they want to invest their money in making soaps rather than
That's right.
putting up a power plant.
That's right.
So we said we got to change this model and make it into a leasing kind of model, or an operating cost model. So we said, now we got to put our money where our mouth is. Let's go out there in the market and raise private capital and start building assets on our own, and then kind of do long term power purchase agreements. So about 5 years into the journey, pivot changed a little bit, although the theme was the same, that solve the last mile energy problems for a developing country like India. But we try to kind of accelerate the scale a bit. So yeah, I think green comes second, I would think. I think energy should be a fundamental right, for people, and that is what we're trying till this day, trying to solve that.
Amazing. Now let's speak to the scale that you're at, today, early 2026.
Yeah,
How many of these, large clients have you worked with? How many countries are you in? How many gigawatts are in the portfolio?
yeah, yeah, yeah. So we have about 400 largish clients.
Yeah.
We work now primarily with commercial and industrial clients, CNI, like we call them.
So that's
Um,
like Unilever was an example. It's a
Unilever,
company
or
like that.
the
Okay.
large cement companies, or the chemical companies, pharmaceutical companies. I mean, energy is
All of them.
end of the day, everybody needs energy. It's just different scales, and we power their factories, right? What we also did is that, while we started with initially with solar, and which was primarily on site, which is either on their
Yep.
roof or within the premises. Luckily, in India, the regulation allows you to set up, like in the US, set up plants off-site, where
And you can
land is,
offset your energy.
yeah, it's not very expensive, or it's not a very valuable resource. It's mostly, waste land, and then wheel the power into the factories. So
Understood.
that kind of took us a notch higher, faster into the scale. And then about 3 years back, we also decided that, you know Along with solar, we'll also put wind turbines, because solar and wind tend to be complementary.
Yeah.
And then you're able to kind of, your evacuation infrastructure or your interconnections, you're able to sweat that asset much better. So, in terms of just the capacities, we are current operating capacity of about a gigawatt and a half that is fully operational.
Yeah.
And as we speak, we are building another gigawatt which is under construction. So in the next 6 to 8 months, we'll be about 2.5 gigawatts. That's the operational capacity.
Wow.
This is a mix of wind and solar, and we are also adding battery storage into the mix now. If you need benchmark in terms of just the numbers, our balance sheet would, at the current capacity, would be about 10,000 crores, which is about, the dollar changes every day, but this is just over a billion
Yeah. Just over $1 billion. Yeah.
dollars.
Yeah.
If you include the pipeline as well, we'll almost double by next year. So that's the pace at which we're growing. It's
Is that the new rate that you're going to be adding a gigawatt plus each year? Is that kind of the velocity that you're looking at?
Yeah, that's the attempt. Yes. If you see the way the landscape has changed, renewable energy is no longer a luxury, right? It's become a necessity.
Yes.
The boardroom discussions are around not that whether we should do it or no, but how much,
Yeah.
and people want more and more replacement. Guys wanting to do 100% net zero, just take off everything which is not clean. And luckily in India, the clients save a lot. uh, you know
100%. Yeah. They're
they,
making money
they
through
save
this. Yeah.
30-40%. So
Wow.
it's bad for the business if they don't do it, right? So
100%.
we've been fortunate in that sense that the regulations have allowed that. India is a big country. There is land available, of course. Doing it the right way takes time, but those resources are available.
No, it's a really big country. How many people live in India now? Do you know like the most recent?
I would think a
It's
billion
like
and a
one.
half now.
Yeah, it's like about 1.5
Yeah,
billion. Obviously,
$1.5
it's
billion.
just
Yeah,
growing.
yeah, and we
I
are one
mean,
of the countries which is still growing. The population
yes,
is still growing. So
yeah.
yeah,
So okay, so the market's never ending. You just said something that's really important though, that your clients, these Unilever like companies, um, that they're saving 30 to 40% on energy costs by switching over to you. And you've done such a good job at making this beyond obvious. It's almost like you'd be absurd not to. Can you explain that though? Why is it that a factory, because that's not common in I think people's minds to think that, oh, switching off of coal to a mix of solar and wind is going to save me 30-40% on my energy bill. Can you explain though how you've made that just a no-brainer proposition? Because obviously there's capex expenditure, there's investment, there's complexity, all these types of things that they probably don't want to take on.
right, right. It's a little bit of financial modeling. I mean, it's not modeling. It's like running a bank. You have a capital asset and then you amortize it over a period of time. There are two or three things which kind of drive these things, right? One is really efficient project execution. So if your capital cost is minimized, then the tariff you can charge is lower, and therefore we've kind of done the hard yards and built our own in-house team. So we are close to 500 people now,
Amazing.
and right from conceptualizing the project to identifying the land and building the plant, it's all done in-house. So we are really really frugal on that, and therefore the capex is kind of minimized. We would have one of the lowest capexes in the industry. The second is of course the cost of capital, right? Because ultimately you put the capital and then you take it back over a period of 20-25 years. And there we've done well. In fact, we've raised equity and debt capital which is very very competitive. So just to give you a sense, on our cap table we have about the TPG rise, but then since then, we have the Nor Fund, which is a Norwegian sovereign fund. We have IFC, which is the World Bank Group. We have ADB, which is Asian Development Bank. DEG, which is the
Incredible.
KfW German DFI. So we've got a bunch of like-minded investors, impact investors, if you may say so, who are commercial investors, but they understand this space and they have a long holding period. So we're able to offer fairly competitive rates in that sense. And then there is a little bit
Amazing.
of solutioning as well. You match the demand and supply in the right manner, and therefore kind of make the costs come down. So if you put all these parameters together, you right really make it competitive and compelling for your customers. And the other idea is to have a widespread solution. So most of our large clients have facilities across India, right? And we are one of the very few, in fact probably the only one who has the widest footprint in India. If you look at the states, we are in 23 states in India out of the 29. And of course internationally also, on the back of our customers, we've now in Indonesia, Vietnam, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh. So we've expanded our
Incredible.
footprint internationally as well.
Yeah. So if you come to me, I'm a cement factory and I'm currently pulling energy off the grid from coal, let's say. You come to me, do you finance the costs for partner energy on their behalf so that it's in essence no cost up front and they're immediately saving on their energy bill, or are they now helping to finance the
No,
setup?
absolutely no financing from them. There is a
Wow.
statutory requirement for them to pay, but it's a very minuscule number, which is kind of a no-brainer for them. But otherwise, they don't have to worry about anything. They sign a contract with us. We take about 6 to 9 months to set up the facilities, and they get power. It's absolutely seamless. They don't need to make any changes at their end. Something's happening, unless it's an on-site plant. If it's off-site, they don't even know where the energy is coming from. This It's just like magic. And they get their
Wow.
utility bill, and whatever energy is supplied from us, that gets deducted. That amount they pay us, which is at a huge discount, and the balance gets comes from the utility. We still not, I mean, the goal is to reach 100%. Because it's a variable source, you have to be dependent on the element. We've managed to reach about 70-75%. Now we are
Okay.
bringing in the batteries, so that should
To
hopefully
get the
take us to
storage.
90-95%. You still have to pray to the gods that the wind and the sun shines.
The wind blows at night and the sun shines during the day.
That's right,
Yeah.
exactly. But we are very close to
That's
net
wow.
zero, more or less.
Okay.
Yeah.
Incredible. So you come to me, you say, "Hey, you're using coal. It's expensive and it's dirty, but it's expensive." Is maybe the primary thing. You say, "Hey, we're going to solve it all for you.
Yeah.
You don't have to pay for it. We're going to finance it. 6 to 9 months, you'll have 70% renewable energy at 30 to 40% reduction in costs."
Yeah.
There's so I understand why you're scaling so quickly. Is it fair to say, are you the largest renewable energy developer in the subcontinent of India right now as a private company?
In the serving the commercial and industrial, there are two segments. There is one segment which
Got it.
builds and just sells to the utility.
Yes,
It's a just an execution game. Ours is a more solutioning based game.
of
We
course.
are among the largest. I mean, we are three or
Yeah.
four players who are in the same range, give or take
Okay.
50, 100 megawatts here or there, but we are all at the same kind of level.
I still remember when you came to it was the Unreasonable Impact Asia Pacific program in 2018, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So almost a decade ago, and I remember you asked me, and I think the story is accurate if my memory serves you well, but you're like, "Hey, do you know this person, John Kerry?" And I was like,
Yeah.
"John Kerry?" That's like the Secretary of State. And you're like, "Yeah, I just joined our advisory board." I think at the time.
Yeah, that was Dreamland. Yeah, I mean, I think he, of course, was introduced by the TPG Rise Fund, whom he was advising on a much larger scale. But
Understood.
he was very gracious, and probably the smallest company he was ever associated with. But amazing insights. Yeah, we got really inspired by him, his energy. I mean, we celebrated his 75th birthday in Delhi. He was with us. We cut a cake for him.
No way.
It was amazing how, despite being a career politician, he had such a good smell about business as well, and he gave us some really impactful inputs, which we are implementing. I think going from on-site to off-site is something he said. Look, guys, if you want to solve this problem at
If
scale,
you really want to
you
scale.
guys need to go off-site. Forget doing so many small projects. Just build the large-scale projects and solve the problem at scale. So thanks to him, yes, yeah, he was inspiring.
So cool. What when you say large scale offsite, developments that you're making, how large are those? And typically then how many clients are like piping into, one of the projects that you're building offsite?
I would say the average size is about 100 megawatts, which, just
Yeah,
to
it's
give you a
large.
sense, that
Very
needs
large.
about 300 to 350 acres of land. So it's
Yeah,
fairly large. You can see it on Google
it's big.
Maps. You can,
You could see it from space.
but now the biggest one we did, which we've just commissioned, is a single facility of 560 megawatts, which is
Wow.
wind and solar combined at a single location. It's massive. It's got a 90-kilometer transmission line. It's
Wow.
got 91 wind turbines. It's got more than 1,000 acres of solar panels.
Wow.
And believe it or not, just four clients are taking in that entire capacity. Yeah.
Wow. No way. And the transmission lines hit their facilities directly.
No, they don't. They hit the closest substation, and this one is a unique one because we are feeding it into the national grid, and it goes all
Wow.
over India. So even though there are four clients, they have multiple facilities across India, right? And look, there are some. The beauty of this is that there are people. If you see the Himalayas, right, you can't
Yeah.
build. It's not very easy to build wind turbines or solar panels on mountains there, right? The
Yeah.
beauty of that, this such a network, is that we transmit it right from south of India into the
All
Himalayas.
the way
The
through.
factories there get their
Wow.
power from that.
Wow.
So
Wow. 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 That's incredible. This sounds it sounds hard. It sounds hard to be doing this at, I mean, 500 megawatts is insane. That's like unreal scale. And of course, now you're having to do public-private partnerships at a very, large level. What has been most difficult at cracking, the challenge of building facilities or projects that are this large?
look, end of the day, there are two or three things I would say. One is, of course, the real estate, right? You need to have that kind of aggregated land, and land is a very sensitive subject throughout the world. I would say we know
Very.
what's happening around a certain, icy
Piece of
icy
land.
piece of land of north.
Yes. Yeah.
I would say doing it the right way is the hardest part, right? I mean, giving fair compensation, making sure that disputes, like, people have three brothers owning a same parcel of land, right? And they all quarreling over who gets what money. So sitting them down, it's not our job, right? We could say, "Okay, guys, figure it out for yourselves and come back to us when you all have resolved it." But going there and, sitting with them, resolving their issues, doing it in the right, within the right ESG kind of compliant manner, making sure that no indigenous people are displaced, making sure that, you know if there is some dwelling there, we give them a similar accommodation somewhere else, giving them jobs after they have moved out of their land and things like that. So that's, I wouldn't say it's hard. It's nice to do it that way, but it takes time. You have to be patient. It needs a lot of patience. The second is that there is a bit of a interface with the utilities there, because we are injecting it into the grid,
Into their system.
and
Yeah.
over a period of time, it's natural that we are taking away their best customers, so they are not the
Hmm.
happiest there.
Of
Yeah.
course. You're
We're taking
you're
away their
replacing them
high
in a
paying
way while using
customers,
their
yeah, while
their
using the
wires. Yeah.
wires.
That's
So
why.
time and again, there are different ways and means which they find to
Mm.
slow us down. And again, doing it in the right manner, to keep at it, you make sure that the guy goes there every day and sits at the office and makes sure that the papers are moving and the files are moving. So that's the second one. And I think the third one is taking this entire challenge and then going to people sitting in DC or Oslo and explaining the entire model to them and giving them the
Yeah. Of
confidence that,
course.
guys, back us, we will make you the returns. Sophisticated investors, they've been there, done that, but The CNI model is a little different, where you sign up with clients as you build. It's not
Yes.
a government project where you get one order, there is financial closure, and then you just have to build. It's a lot more nuanced,
Yeah.
and for them to kind of understand and come along with you and back you, as against another utility platform which has more visibility, and then raising project finance around that. So a lot of education happens with extended stakeholders.
Yeah. How much capital have you raised to date?
475 million is what we've already raised and drawn, and it's a raw material, so we are always on the road. That's
Yeah. So you're
that's
always
my
raising.
job title, right? Go and raise capital.
Go raise capital. What have you, this is a little more of a personal question, but what have you learned about yourself through the process of raising this much capital?
Hmm. Hmm. That I'm quite smart. Jokes apart. No,
Humble too. Yeah.
it
You actually
needs a
are.
lot of patience. Even at this stage, when you're running a treadmill with on in a capital intensive industry, it kind of
Yeah,
tends to get stressful when you are at the end of that investment cycle, and the next
that's
guys
right.
have to come in. So it needs a lot of patience. The good thing I found is that having a co-founder and a friend as a co-founder is has been absolutely invaluable.
Such a gift.
One is up, the other is down, and vice versa. So that partnership has worked really well. But I think the biggest learning through this journey is that people is everything. Yeah, you can't do it on
Mm,
your own. You have to trust people. You have to let them run the race, and you can't manage everything by yourself. So having the right people by your side is absolutely important, and I think that solves a lot of problems.
yeah. It feels like the clue to some of your success is actually hidden in the name. Can you take a minute to share why Fourth Partner Energy?
Yeah. So interestingly, we were three of us who started this. Two of us
Yeah,
continue. One was a more a financial investor, and he managed to get an exit. And then we said that the energy around the firm has to be around every other stakeholder we partner with. So customers, our
mm,
suppliers, our shareholders, investors, our employees, everybody should be the fourth partner, and that is how we will progress in our journey. And that's been the journey so far. It's been about everybody else. I mean, I've told you this before, Daniel, but every single
yeah,
person in the firm owns stock, and everybody is
yeah.
an owner here. So there is no hierarchy. We don't have designations in our company at all. So there's no CEO, there is no COO, there's no general manager.
Oh,
It's
really?
it's
You have none
no,
of that.
there is a structure, there is a reporting structure,
Eh,
but
there must be
there is
substructure.
structure, but there's no designations. So no titles at all. So
Wow.
our offices are open. There are no cabins. So yeah,
Yeah. So just for open floor space, anybody can connect with anyone.
yeah,
There's no hierarchy in that sense. At any level, you can bring us an idea or
that's
a challenge
yeah,
or a
yeah.
problem.
We like to have fun while solving the world's problems. So yeah, employee number one is still with us. First 10 employees are all still with us.
No way. 16 years into the journey, your first 10 employees are all still okay. Let's talk about that. That is so rare.
Yeah,
That is almost unheard of. From my experience with in the Unreasonable Fellowship, over 500 companies, you might be the only one that is over a decade old, and the first 10 employees are still with
yeah.
the firm.
They're all fourth partners.
Wow. Do you attribute that? It has to be a lot more than just equity ownership in the business. What is it that you attribute that to?
I think it's just love and passion. Yeah, I think they just we all are a extended family. They eat, sleep, drink, fourth partner. They work twice as hard as any of us founders do. They feel the pride, they feel the pain, all of that. I think so. It's not equity ownership, but it is ownership, right? They own what
Totally
they're
right.
doing, and I think there's a lot of trust amongst each other. We would trust our lives with them, and vice versa. So
Mm. Can you talk a little bit about that? When I was in university, well, I was trying to run 3 startups, at the same time, and I remember a very close friend and mentor told me that the word trust does not belong in business, and I remember everything in my body registered against that, but I think that that's a common belief. Most people say, "No, no, you want incentives and you want like backstops and legal contracts to ensure that people do the right thing, but you don't base it on trust." Can you share a little bit about this belief in fostering trust, the importance of it, how you bring that back into the heart of running a company?
Look, it's also a little person dependent. There are different people who operate very differently.
Yes.
It is about finding the ones which have the same value system, and I think we've been lucky in that sense to have found a bunch of people who value the same thing, and it works both ways, right? It has to be a two-way. The moment I stop trusting, they will stop trusting me, and vice versa. So I think, and then once you have that base built of mutual trust, it kind of feeds into each other, right?
Mm,
The guy, his name is Srinivas. When I give him as much freedom, he ends up giving it to his team, right? And his
that's right.
team gives it,
Yeah.
that network effect kind of, and that's how culture is built, right?
Yeah.
So if you lay the foundation right up front, and if that is the value you value, and you make sure that the others are like-minded, then I think it's just multiplies from there on, and then
Mm,
it becomes very easy because you can't be watching your back. It's a very hard industry, right? It's end of the day, it's infrastructure building in the remotest of areas, in 45 degrees Celsius, in 5 degrees cold. So it has to come from within. It has to be more than money, which kind of motivates you.
yeah.
Otherwise, there are jobs where people can sit in office and earn twice the salary, but there has
100%.
to be something more than just the incentives which drive people. And I think because of the network effect, we've managed to have an ecosystem which kind of fosters trust within the system.
It feels like you've become probably known for that. I imagine, or I don't imagine, actually, I believe that people really trust people when, yes, it's kind of easy to do the right thing for the right reasons in the right way when things are going really well. You really build trust and camaraderie, and belief in somebody else when shit hits the fan and they still hold true to their underlying values, and you say, "Oh wow, okay, they really mean it." Can you tell a story of maybe when that's happened for you?
Oh, believe me, it still happens every day. So,
I'm
but
sure
look, we started with very limited means, right? We put in our own money. We had run out of
you
that money
self-funded.
for in a couple of years. We were scrambling. We were still figuring out what to do, and there have been months where there was not enough money to pay the salaries. And then my partner and I, sometimes we got our own personal resources from family and friends, and extended that to the ecosystem.
Wow. Wow, so you, like, borrowed
Yes,
money to be able to make
that's
payroll,
right.
in essence, from family and friends. So you put everything on the line to ensure that your team was compensated.
They saw that and they said, look, we are fine this month, just keep the money,
Wow.
you know we'll take it next month. We have enough going right now. Now, luckily, doesn't happen anymore. But those were the early foundations, and those stories have been in different pockets, been related down the line, and that's why we were very keen that everybody also has a stock ownership in the firm. Everybody, right from the administrative person who actually the staff who brings you tea when you go, has stock in the
Yeah.
company, because it's less about the money but more about feeling that there is ownership. Daniel, very glad to say that tomorrow if Vivek and I step down and move out, this baby will continue, the journey will continue. There will be people who will take on the mantle and run it even better than probably what we are doing. So we are in that sense really proud of something which we built. The idea was always, of course, financially doing well is important. We're not running a, a not for profit here. It's a very commercially driven profitable organization, but the idea always was to test ourselves and become holistic entrepreneurs rather than just have add shareholder value. It's more about adding stakeholder value and not just shareholder value.
It's the fourth partner. It's your whole point. I am in that sense. So I looked it up on chat. I am, or a friend calls El Chato, which I like. So I asked El Chato the equivalent of renewable energy being installed. It's equivalent in terms of trees being planted, and it spit out a very large number. But I'm curious if you've done that math yourself, just to give anyone who's tuning into this a sense of the magnitude of, not just the economic and the societal impact that you're having, but also the ecological.
Yeah, yeah. I remember early days, that's how we used to sell it. Now there are too many zeros in it to count. But yeah, 1 kilowatt is about 70 odd trees. And so, 1 gigawatt is 10 to
70
the
billion.
power 9. I mean, 10 to the power 6. Yeah, yeah, 70 million trees. So that's a mini forest you're talking about.
Yeah, it's a large forest. That's what El Chato told me too, which was the equivalent of a gigawatt renewable energy was about 60 to 90 billion trees
That's right.
being planted
That's
and
right.
forested and grown. I am, which is stunning. For me, the word trust is it's adjacent to the word faith in a lot of ways. Like it's easier to have trust when one has faith, whether that's in people or the universe or God or however you want to think about it. I am curious. There's a personal question, if you're willing to go there. It's like, how does your faith relate to the ability to, trust people and trust the unfolding of what wants to happen?
No, you're right. It's a very good point, and I think I look at them as essentially synonymous, with each other.
Yeah,
Look, in that sense, I'm not particularly very religious,
yeah,
more or less agnostic, but of course, believe in the power of a higher being and being good and a good human being.
yeah,
But have it or not, both Vivek and me come from very different backgrounds as such. I mean, if you know the Indian kind of religious this thing, he's a Hindu, I'm a Muslim born, but we have the same faith in that sense that if you do good, it all comes around. It's the
yeah.
universe is a kind of a
This karmic
it's a
wheel.
karmic wheel, and in any form and shape, if you've done well, eventually you will get what you deserve,
Mm,
right? And I think that at every step there have been temptations, to take
I
shortcuts.
can't imagine.
The guy is taking too long, maybe we, take him out for a drink, but we've resisted that temptation because doing the right thing is equally important, as it makes the whole ecosystem robust. Like I said, the trust feeds into trust, distrust also feeds into distrust, right? I mean, that
It's maybe even more
yeah,
contagious.
exactly,
Yeah,
exactly.
it spreads
Yeah,
like
so
wildfire.
you can't set a bad example ever. We are very, very conscious of what example we set for the larger organization.
Mm. If it wasn't necessarily religion, where that like moral compass comes from, or that belief comes from, because yeah, unfortunately, it's an easy belief to say, but I think actually very few people embody it and live by it. Which is, I'm going to do the right thing for the right reasons, the right way, to the best of my ability, come what
Yeah,
may, and I believe that eventually that will come back. I am. Do you know where that comes from?
I think it must be the upbringing. Look, both of us very humble backgrounds, and at every stage where we felt that things are so tough, there would be something which would come and make life easier, and we would go a step beyond. I mean, we would, in our wildest dreams, never imagine that we would be running an organization with 500 families associated with us at this kind
Totally.
of scale and doing what. So I feel, what else could it be, right? I mean, it has to be a karmic cycle which has brought you to this level,
Mm,
and it is always good to give back. So Of course, as kids, I mean, when you grow up, you obviously look at your parents and the ecosystem around you, and they were
Yeah.
happy in whatever limited means they had. They were never greedy or asked for more, and just happy in the limited means.
Or Saif, just on that, can you actually paint the picture? What was your childhood like? Like, what was your upbringing like? Where were you? What was the environment? All that.
Interesting one. So I grew up in Bombay, of course,
Yeah. Small town.
small town, of course, big town, but if you're good at imagining spaces,
Yeah.
there was me, my parents, my grandmom, and I had an uncle and an aunt who didn't have kids and used to often visit from another city and live for us most of the time in a 250 square foot apartment, right?
That was you were all in that one apartment?
Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
I went to school. It was a Jesuit-run school, St. Xavier's, in Bombay, but the education was close to free. The entire
Yeah.
schooling,
That's how you could go. Yeah.
and then college also. I did my engineering after that, which was highly subsidized by the government. I did my chemical engineering. It was a very good school, but luckily, I mean, I had the grades to get into that school. So most of my undergrad education was almost free. But I also grew up with my father didn't have the best of health, right? And he was the only
Mm,
earning member in the family. So he used to run a small shop where he used to sell building materials, hardware stuff,
got it.
handles and screws and things like that. So I had to often back him up at the shop. So from school, I would finish school and then evening go to the shop, sit there,
Wow.
do whatever needed to be done, and then come back and study in the evening and things like that. But even in all of that, they always encouraged me that you should get yourself an education and try and get out of this. So I used to cycle my way to school, which was about 7-8 kilometers away.
Across Bombay?
Mumbai traffic is
That's
is
insane.
different. Again, like I said, never felt that we didn't have anything or the need
Yeah, you
for
never
lack.
lacked.
Never felt the lack of anything. We were just happy. One good thing was that there wasn't Instagram or Facebook at that point in time, so
Yeah.
you never know what the rest of the world was, and you were always happy.
Yeah.
Had a great set of friends. Did all kinds of stuff.
Mm, mm. So cool. I can kind of see young Safe
Yeah.
on his bike. Try not to get hit as you're flying through traffic.
But then, yeah,
What?
after
Yeah.
that, kind of went my own way, got a job, went for a management education, joined the Tata Group
Mm,
after that, and then
yeah. Yeah. So are your parents still alive? Are they
they are,
still
they
with
are,
us?
yes, they are.
Yeah. Yeah.
They
And
still
what
live
do
in
they
Bombay. They have
think?
been institutionalized there. They refuse to move in with us, but yeah.
What do they think about what you're doing now?
They are big fans. I think they're really proud.
I'm sure.
They're really proud. They're happy. They wish they could be more involved, but given their
Yeah.
age, uh, but I think more than anything else, they are happy to see the whole family come together, in the sense the fourth partner family. So I invite them for most of the company get-togethers, and whenever we're having a celebration, etc. And
Hmm.
a lot of people come. In India, there's a tradition of touching feet. Your elders, you kind of touch their feet and take
Yeah.
blessings. So a lot of people, youngsters, come and touch their feet, and they're really overwhelmed with the kind of love they get in the
Mm.
extended fourth partner family. I think you should come for one of our annual
I gotta
meets.
come.
You'll get a real sense
I would
of
love it. Are you kidding?
I'll send you an
You
invitation.
come to Boulder and stay with my wife and I, then I will definitely
Done,
come.
done, done.
We'll do a trade. I'll definitely
We
do
have
it
a
though.
deal.
I would love that. I would love that. I'm curious, as a founder CEO, we're stepping into fundraising ourselves and hopefully raising capital in like the similar amounts that you're talking about, and it's certainly in the hundreds of millions. But what have you learned about fundraising? Almost every entrepreneur that we get the privilege of supporting, of course, is going out and fundraising, and some have been more successful, and some have been
Yeah.
less. You've been incredibly successful in a number of ways. Like, what have you learned about it in the process?
Don't get disappointed to hear a no. There'll be a lot of no's
Yeah,
and
of
one
course.
yes, and one yes is all you need actually. So it's also important to you being able to say no.
Of course, very important, critical.
Getting the right people on the ship, just feeling that right chemistry with the, I mean, sometimes you may not have that liberty,
Yeah.
but getting the wrong people on your side is worse than not getting anybody at all, right? So I
Mm.
think spend time with who you're raising money with, and see if they treat you like equals. I think that's most important, because the moment you feel that there is a hierarchy in the relationship, you will lose all the motivation. They will treat you very differently, I think so. We've had situations where after 3 4 5 months of everything coming together, we've just not felt right about something and we walked away. And I think in hindsight, those have been very good
The
decisions. Yeah,
feeling tone of it was off.
because the same institutions have invested somewhere else, and those companies no longer exist.
Mm.
So
Yeah, I always like to think about it. One of our first fund at Unreasonable, the chairperson, his name's Jack Tankersley, and he said it really well. Where I told him, I was like, Jack, I don't like going and asking for money, even if it's an investment. I just don't like the feeling tone of that. He's like, yeah, that's because you're thinking about it wrong. He's like, you're not asking for investment. You're doing them the courtesy of extending an invitation to invest in the journey that it is you're creating, and it's a huge privilege. And so it's the shift the power dynamic to be equals that could walk side by side on a journey towards a similar destination instead of, you know,
yeah,
putting your hand out and hoping that somebody fills it.
right. Yeah, no, absolutely. I think it's very important to set that and sense that, early on.
Mm, mm. Okay. For you, it seems like what matters in terms of your work is when the values that you lead it by, and two, just the outcomes. But it's not necessarily about 100-hour weeks or whatever it is. That doesn't matter. It's the values and the outcomes. Can you talk about how you manage your time as co-founder at Fourth Partner Energy and the one who's charged with fundraising?
Yeah, I think I've told you this before. I work only 2 days a week because I have a great team and they do all the heavy lifting.
Yeah.
On a serious note, I think once you have a certain trust in the team and a good team to take, what they want to see is that you are there when the shit hits the fan, that you are there to
Hmm.
hold it all together, you know, and then the occasions where they come back to you reduces progressively. You probably have to do it 7 days a week when you're earlier in the cycle. That kind of
Yeah.
reduces because they know they're not afraid to make mistakes, and once they learn from their mistakes, the number of mistakes go down. So I think that's more important, and that's what our role is. We do more of a mentoring role. Of course, in a fundraising cycle, the investors always want to see the founder's face, and therefore we are there wherever it's needed. But there also, it's more about telling the story right, and then getting them to see what exists on the ground. So we don't kind of burn ourselves out by, and also it's a management style, right? Again, comes from the point of trust, that you don't want to be
Yeah.
helicoptering around people and making sure that watching each of their step. You let them go and fly, and then figure it out and make sure that you're there behind. So that kind of frees up a lot of your time. That also helps in kind of succession eventually. Like I said, tomorrow if both of us move out, the firm will still continue. And at certain stage in life, you also want, there is family, there's friends, there are other interests
100%.
which you want to do. We've now personally started investing in a few startups ourselves, so mentoring them, through the journey, etc., etc. So I think life need not be unidimensional.
Yes.
Your firm is your heart and soul, but there are other pockets also which need your time. So I think we try to kind of distribute it.
Mhm. I resonate with that a lot. I'm curious. You mentioned the language mentor, where you said we try to rather than manage, in essence, mentor our team, when you're investing into these startups, you're seeing yourself in the capacity of a mentor. What does it mean from your perspective to mentor? Like, what is a good mentor?
I would say, if you put yourself as a father and you will soon be there, is to kind of take the child into the swimming pool and just help it float, but not hold it very tight, so that they don't drown. So
Mhm.
it's a balance, I think, which one needs to strike, where you give your wisdom, your experiences, you share, but at the same time let people run their own kind of journeys. I think that's a very fine balance. And obviously, in terms of just the physical help, give them your contacts, or you give them your processes, or things like that. But I think striking a very fine balance between telling them what you think is right and sharing your experiences, but at the same time let them learn from their mistakes and let them have their own journeys is very, very important.
Yeah, yeah. To me, maybe the greatest role is to be someone from the outside who
Yeah,
just fully believes in their potential. I am and says, I am trust yourself. I fully believe in you and know I'm here if shit hits the fan.
that's right,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Cool. Okay. So now let's talk. We've been talking a lot about the present and the past, just a little bit about the future, which is, if fourth partner energy continues to be on this pathway and deepens its own realization of its potential, what does this look like 5 to 10 years, let's say, from now? You can pick the number, whatever resonates the most, and maybe just like aspirationally, what are you working in terms of the company, but then also the impact that that has in the world?
I think, we want our clients to go net zero, absolutely 100%,
Yeah,
on
fully.
whatever it needs to be done in terms of technology, in terms of investment, all of that. So I think we see ourselves as a green utility, where just take up all your energy needs and take you fully green. That's on the business side. And on the overall finance side, I think we are ripe to go public, hopefully in the next 12, 18, at the most 24 months. We would like to be a public company. And then obviously over the next 2, 3 years after that, both of us would want to take a step back and get the next successor, whether it is internal or external, and get
Yeah,
them to run the race. I think that would be about 20 years from when we started. I think it's a good enough.
that's a good
That's
haul.
a good. And obviously, one also realizes that at a certain stage you need managers and not entrepreneurs. you know
Yeah.
there are people who are able to do a much better job than you are doing, and I think it is only
Mm,
right that we pass on the mantle and let them run the rest. There are wonderful professionals who can grow this much better than we have done so far. So I think that realization is there already. Obviously the public markets would like to see the founders take this on to the next
yes.
step, but then I think there's a very clear path where Vivek and I both want to step aside and
Yep.
do other things.
So if we did look forward, let's say 10 years, and so you have the IPO in the next 1 to 2 years, that goes really well. You're still at the helm, but then you transition. You found even more apt leadership to kind of take the helm. You're probably still involved as board members, but you're not
That's
you're not running the day to day. Now we go forward 10 years. Like right now, you're doing in essence a gigawatt a
yeah.
year. 10 years from now, what do you think the portfolio has the potential to look like in terms of size?
I think we should be at about 20,
Yeah.
15 to 20. Yeah, at least. There's a consolidation also in the industry, right, which is happening. So we are looking at certain assets to just take over and run them more efficiently. But ultimately, there will be 4 or 5 guys who will prevail in the market. So I think 20 gigawatt is not difficult at all.
Yeah. Okay. So we go forward 10 years from now, you have 20 gigawatts renewable energy, bringing 100% renewable energy to all of your clients. We now know the math on the trees. That's the equivalent to about 1.4 billion trees being planted and grown into a forest. It's not just that they're seedlings.
That's right.
I am, let
Full-grown trees.
alone
Yeah.
the economic value, let alone the jobs that are created and supported, and the cleaner air that is derived as a repercussion we haven't talked about. That it's pretty incredible, brother, to feel into what you and the team have built, and the potential of it. If anyone's listening to this conversation right now and they're saying, "Holy shit, this is about as cool of a project as I've ever heard in terms of efficacy and impact in the world," and they want to, become a part of the solution. How can people support or engage or become customers or invest? Really, whatever comes to mind.
Yeah. No, all doors are open, Daniel. We've always been happy to talk about our story. If it helps someone, if it inspires someone, it's always wonderful. But we are always, you know, open to serving whatever need one may have. We're obviously always raising capital all the time, so one can
Yeah,
participate alongside that. Our check sizes tend to be slightly larger now, so that
yeah,
kind of is limiting. But that's there. If someone wants to just, you know, if they're sitting in the US and wants advice that, look, I have this rooftop, I need to put solar, just we obviously won't come there and install it. But if you want to see what is the best system you want to put, how should they evaluate something like that, we are just a phone call away. So happy to engage in any form and shape. If someone wants to come and see our facilities, meet our clients, happy to host kind of, a delegation, if you will, to see what we also do. We'll do a lot of, alongside where our plants are, we do a lot of social activities as well. We build small schools, we've built primary healthcare centers.
well,
There is an initiative where it's called Power at One, where
hmm,
we set up power small solar plants from the CSR funds which you have, and do it for rural schools and primary healthcare centers, so that they can get free power, or at 1 rupee they can get power. So that's a whole initiative which is run within the company. So there is a lot of things which happy to showcase to whoever wants to have a look.
yeah. And if somebody wants to, get involved, take you up on either these offers or these opportunities, how do they get in touch? What's the best way?
No, no, just send me an email and we'll do the needful. Yeah, absolutely. I'm
Yeah,
always. Sometimes I miss it if there are family weddings,
send a
but
follow up.
I'm always on my phone or on the laptop, and I'll make it happen.
Is it safe at
.co.
fourthpartnerenergy.com?
No,
Dot co.
fourthpartner.co. Yeah, yeah,
Fourthpartner.co.
that's right.
Okay.
Safe at
Awesome.
fourthpartner.co. Yeah,
Awesome,
yeah.
brother.
You have
Well,
my number as well. I'm happy to receive a text.
I'm not going to share your number to everyone listening to this, but well, your email's generous
Yeah.
enough. Yeah, brother. I mean, I'll just say, it's been, such a gift. Like, on behalf of our whole team, our partners at Barclays, the whole community, just me personally, it's been such a gift to be on this journey with you and to witness. Oftentimes I feel like kind of on the sidelines. I am just how quickly this is scaling, but with how much integrity I am that runs through it. And I think that those two things aren't coincidences. The quickness of your scale and the longevity of the business, I think, has to do directly with the amount of integrity that you and the team have brought into the company since its genesis. And
Yeah.
yeah, I'm a huge admirer of you as a friend,
Thank
as
you.
a fellow CEO, or sorry, not CEO, we'll say co-founder, and I am, just as a traveler in this life.
No, thank you, and likewise, Daniel. Always pleasure. And I have seen you also since probably the early days of Unreasonable, and what a phenomenal organization you have built. So equally, congratulations, and it's always good to match notes. And I hope we could meet a lot more than we do, but we'll change that soon.